Okay, they've got a new tower into the game called the Biologist, and yes, 100% named after me because I have a degree in biology. It's only a bachelor's degree. Let me be humble for a second. It's only a bachelor's degree. I have been accepted to a master's degree, and I could do a PhD, but my master's degree isn't in biology. It's in ecosystems and whatever. I forgot what the name of the degree is. Whatever. A more accurate name for this is the Botanist, but again, because they wanted to commemorate my degree, obviously they had to name it the Biologist, of course, after my degree. It's written in the stars. Anyways, for some reason, they've forgotten to actually title this correctly, because it's just the Spring 2025 Event Tower. And it does have multiple skins. However, one of those skins, I believe, is you have to get it through a milestone, which I believe you have to beat hard mode a couple of times. I think 3? And there's a biologist bundle, but we'll get to that later in a different thing. Additionally, 3 days. I think it unlocks in 3 days, whereas this one, I don't know when it unlocks. So basically, you're going to have to buy this if you want to review it quickly, aka me. Alternatively, if you don't want to beat hard mode, because you have to beat hard mode, but you need to beat easy mode before you beat hard mode. So you can either pay 849 Robux, or you can beg someone for the Biologist. Yes, let's not dabble in this too much, but the developers have basically said, okay, if you need a biologist, go beg the Biologist, aka me. I'm a biologist. If you need my services, I'm a biologist. If you want your trees surveying, I know how to do that. Anyways, as I mentioned before, the Biologist isn't really much of a biologist. It's more of a botanist. Again, my second year dissertation was on agriculture, so I feel like I can judge this. But its range is quite small, seen here. But that's because its range isn't really meant to cover the path. It's actually covering where the units that it spawns actually covers. As you can see here, the sunflower is the one which has the damage. So the statistics of the Biologist we can kind of ignore, but it has 0 damage. It has an 8 placement limit. It has a range of 4 and a base fire rate of 1, which is probably how fast it can respawn the units. Oh my god, they even have they have an upgrade title called Biochemistry. Just for clarification, firstly, that's not how you spell chemistry. Below natural, did you have a dyslexia moment? Secondly, my original degree, and due to some administrative error, my first degree is in biochemistry, which is meant to be biological sciences, but it's in biochemistry. I actually might accidentally have 2 bachelor's degrees, but one of them could be biochemistry. So this tower is definitely me. Anyways, for the sunflower, it has a health of 50, which is basically irrelevant except for boss stomps. It has damage of 5 and its range is 15, while its cooldown or fire rate is 1.1. So as you can see, the sunflower is the main base attack thing. So as you can see, attacking the boomer. It also has a lifespan, I believe. I don't know how long it is. I think it might be around 10 seconds or 15. No, 20 seconds surely. Yeah, I think it's around 20 seconds. Yeah, it is 20 seconds. It's literally here, 20 seconds. Therefore, the DPS of the Biologist is 4.55, while its placement cost is 750. Now, I don't think that's too bad, except for the fact that yes, the sunflower can be killed. So if I were to, I don't know, get the Void Reaver out, it probably kills the sunflower before it's able to spawn back in. So let's see, it does a stomp immediately. Yeah, so if the sunflower is killed, then you're kind of screwed because the Biologist itself cannot attack. Right, as for level 1, the sunflower, its damage increases from 6 to 10. Its range increases from 15 to 15, so actually there's no increase. Its cooldown remains the same, so why mention the changes if it's an upgrade? Anyways, and its health doubles from 50 to 100. Although, again, when you're placing down the Biologist, its health really doesn't matter. It's not like, unless you can you place it in the middle of the path? Does it do that? Also, it has a dead zone range of 1, but I guess that's really irrelevant. Let's see. So it doesn't even seem like the sunflower can be placed onto the path. As you can see here, it's intentionally avoiding the path here. So I don't understand why it has health when it's weak in the first place. I guess there can be a situation in like Dusty Bridges where the path is really close to sunflower, but even then, would it be able to, I don't know, kill the sunflower if it collides with it? I don't know. Can it even collide with it? That's the question. Anyways, as for the other upgrade here, it actually gets the Ivy upgrade. As the Ivy suggests, compared to the sunflower, the Ivy deals single target poison DPS compared to the sunflower, which deals high single target DPS. So I don't know, if we were to spawn in the boomer again, why is it on the sunflowers? Does it not immediately regenerate into... No, it doesn't. Okay, wait, no, I had a wrong thing. So it looks like it's poisoned in similar vein to the toxic gunner. In fact, it does deal decent DPS. And does it look like it can slow it down? It looks like it can slow it down. It could just be me. I don't know. It doesn't look... Okay, never mind. It doesn't look like it can slow it down. It looks like it poisons it. The down arrows are poison. They're not necessarily slow down. Except, I don't... Maybe it slows down. Let's see what the statistics say. So, for the Ivy upgrade, it says... damage 8, range 14, cooldown 2 seconds, health 100, explosion radius 3. So it does have explosion radius. So it is the splash damage tower, or the splash damage unit of the Biologist. Its poison damage is 1, tick rate 0.75, and poison length 4.5. Therefore, it doesn't actually slow down enemies despite the arrows. As a result of these changes, the Sunflower's DPS is now 9.09, whereas the Ivy's DPS is 4. Oh, and apparently the Ivy can slow down enemies, but it's only 5%, so it's barely anything. So I was wrong. It does slow down enemies, but it's barely noticeable. So if you want to use an actual slowdown tower, I wouldn't recommend this tower, at least at this stage. But for only $600 for an upgrade, therefore meaning it has a total cost of $1,350. It's fine. I don't know. Again, the units, while incredibly weak to boss attacks, most enemies when spawning don't have boss attacks. Also, its placement limit of 8 kind of does limit it. But I'm seeing this more of a crook boss replacement rather than anything else, rather than like a scout replacement that you can spam for something. Meanwhile, as for level 2, for 1,850, for a total cost of 3,200, it gets a second tower slot, so you can have both the Sunflower and the Ivy. Now, given the fact that the Sunflower has high DPS, while the Ivy has the DPS, has the explosion damage, it might be beneficial to have both of them. Then again, though, I think probably people will figure out that either one or the other is better. Given the fact that the Sunflower does deal nearly 2 times the damage, and the Ivy can't really slow down enemies that much, I think people will probably use the Sunflower more. But then again, I don't know. DPS over splash damage. For the pursuit, most people choose the top path, and they don't choose the bottom path for its hidden detection. Anyways, at this level, the Sunflower that spawns in, its upgrade has changed, and it now has hidden detection. Okay, so that may be an advantage for using the Sunflower path, because it has hidden detection at this level. Its health is 200, so if you're for some reason having the level 2 Biologist, it can resist, I guess, boss ability attack, just briefly. Its damage is 12, its range is 17, and its cooldown is 1.1 seconds. That's its fire rate, therefore meaning that its DPS is 10.91, so it's not much of an upgrade compared to the 9.09 DPS that it had previously. Meanwhile, as for the Ivy, its health has increased from 100 to 200, its damage has increased from 8 to 12, its range has increased from 14 to 15.5, its cooldown or fire rate has decreased from 2 to 1.8. Also, bearing in mind that the Ivy can detect lead at this level, or damage lead. Its explosion radius has increased from 3 to 4. Its poison damage has increased from 1 to 2. Its poison length remains the same at 4.5, and its tick rate remains the same at 0.75. Whereas its max slowdown has increased from 5 to 7.5. Again, this is barely noticeable given the fact that this is the max cooldown. You'll barely be able to notice this. But splash damage. However, its DPS has barely increased from 4 to 6.67. Now, I don't necessarily think that this is a nerf, per se, because it gets 2 towers. So you basically have to double the DPS. So the DPS of the Sunflower, 2 Sunflowers, is about 22, whereas for the Ivy, it's about 13. You probably mix and match, but it's roughly the same if you add the numbers. So 6.6 plus 10, what, you're looking at about 17. Meanwhile, as for level 2, it costs 4,500. So therefore meaning that the total cost has increased to 7,700 at this level. Here, it gets the Nightshade. The Nightshade deals single DPS that causes confusion. Okay, so it's a Jester, it's, what is it? The Crook Boss, it's all of that stuff, all planted into one. So the Nightshade deals single DPS that causes confusion. But first, let's do the other towers, or the other plants first. So the Sunflower, its health has been buffed from 200 to 400. Its damage has nearly doubled, basically. It has, in fact, over doubled from 12 to 28. Its range has increased from 17 to 19.5, quite a big range increase. Its cooldown has decreased, or its fire rate has decreased from 1.1 to 1. It can see hidden because of the previous upgrade, therefore meaning that the DPS has doubled or over doubled from 10.91 to 28. Meanwhile, as for the Ivy, its health has doubled from 200 to 400. Its damage has over doubled from 12 to 25. Its range has increased from 15.5 to 17. Its fire rate remains the same at 1.8. Its explosion radius has increased from 4 to 4.5. The poison damage has increased from 2 to 4, bearing in mind there's a separate damage for poison damage over time and the damage from the Ivy. The DPS that I've stated so far doesn't actually include poison damage, so do bear that in mind. If you include poison damage, it actually probably means that it's about half the tower as half the unit, as the sunflower, meaning that you only really need to hit 2 enemies for the Ivy to be better than the sunflower. And the sunflower can only detect, its marquee thing is that it can detect hiddens and is good against a single DPS target. So I'd argue that more people should be using the Ivy as they do the Grenadier compared to the Rifleman, and the top half pursuit, I mean, well, really, it doesn't really matter. Anyways, its tick rate has actually decreased from 0.75 to 0.6, and its max slow has remained the same at 7.5, so its DPS, not including poison damage, has increased to 13.89. Whereas for the Nightshade, it's a new tower, new unit. So it has 400 health, so it's the same as the other units. Its damage is 50, quite good. Range 30, which is quite big, but its cooldown is quite slow in comparison to the other towers, being 3 seconds. So I'd imagine you probably want to set this to either random or strongest, just to increase the chances of it targeting an enemy without the slowdown from the Nightshade. However, the perk at this level is that it can detect flying. So you'll notice with the plants, they have different detections. So the sunflower can detect hiddens from level 2 onwards. The Ivy can damage lead from its initial base. And the Nightshade can detect flying. However, the confusion time for the Nightshade is 1 second, but it does have a cooldown, so you can't constantly use the Nightshade on a single enemy. That's why I said either use random or either use strongest. Again, it seems like the meta is to have a mix of towers. But anyways, the DPS for the Nightshade is 16.67, which when you factor in the poison damage for the Ivy is going to be the weakest, but then again, it can cause confusion. And there is not many immunities against confusion, apart from boss immunity. So I'd imagine Shane, instead of using the Jester, he'll start using the Nightshade for the Biologist, I guess. Given the fact that I think this is cheaper compared to the confusion bombs for the Jester, which are more expensive. Yes, to get confusion bombs for the Jester, you need 11,900, whereas for the Biologist, you only need 7,700. Okay. Of course, the issue is that the Jester can deal multiple enemies the confusion, but it is capped at 3 max hits, I believe, or 5 max hits. So if you want to use the Nightshade, I guess random enemies with the Nightshade if you really want to use the confusion. And then finally, we have max level, where it gets another path unlocked. So you can have all 3 plants to your heart's content for ultimate, I don't know, detection bullying. Obviously, it's quite expensive, 20,000. So what? That's going to be 27,700 in total costs. So, as for the sunflower, it gets buffed. Its health gets buffed to 800. That's a doubling of its health. So, 800 health, that's enough to probably survive a lot of boss stomps and a lot of boss stuff. So, you don't really need to think about that too much. Unless your boss is the Void Reaver, then you probably do need to worry a bit. The sunflower, its damage increases from 28 to 55. Its range has increased from 19.5 to 22.5. Its cooldown, or fire rate, has decreased from 1 to 0.8. Therefore, meaning that its DPS has increased from 28 to 68.75. As for the Ivy, its health has also doubled from 400 to 800. Its damage has increased from 25 to 45. Its range has increased from 17 to 80.5. Its fire rate has decreased from 1.8 to 1.5. Explosion radius has remained the same at 4.5. Poison damage has increased from 4 to 5. Its poison length has increased from 4.5 seconds to 5.2 seconds. Its tick rate has increased, so actually the tick rate has increased, so that means that the poison damage is applied less, but then again its poison length has increased, so you do fit in 1 more poison length there, or 2 actually, I think. And its max slow has increased from 7.5 to 12.5, so I mean it's not that great, especially compared to something like the Jester, I believe, where you can probably use the Ice Bomb instead for a max slowdown of 60%, but it's okay, and I believe the poison toxic gunner does have a better max slowdown. Anyways, its DPS is 30 compared to 30.89, again not including poison damage. Poison damage only does actually add 6.15, so compared to the sunflower, the ivy has about 36 DPS. So again, the ivy is about half the damage of the sunflower constantly. So you really you do get a benefit from it if it hits 2 enemies. So do bear that in mind. But again, the sunflower can detect hiddens, very good against high damage bosses. Meanwhile, as for the Nightshade, its health has increased from 400 to 800. Its damage has increased from 50 to 135. But do bear in mind, it does have a slow fire rate at 2.75 seconds, which is a decrease from 3 seconds, and its range has increased to 35. That's quite large, is it not? Meanwhile, its confusion time has increased from 1 second to 1.25 seconds, and its DPS has increased from 16.67 to 49.09. This is actually better DPS compared to the Ivy, but then again, the Ivy can hit multiple enemies, and the Nightshade can only hit 1. So if it hits, I don't know, a normal, then you're kind of screwed, because that's not good DPS. Also, bear in mind that the Nightshade, or like all the plants in general actually, they can't be buffed by, like say the DJ booth for example. That the Biologist can, but its fire rate means absolutely nothing. So this is going to be one of those towers where using other stuff on it is completely useless on it. You can't support it any more further than what it is. It's a bit like the Engineer, but even with the Engineer, it does have a tower or where you can actually buff it. So, for example, the Engineer does have the nail gun, for example, where you can buff it with damage and you can buff it with the DJ booth. You can't do it with the Biologist. You can buff it in the sense that you can decrease its upgrade costs with the green path, but otherwise, it's useless. The range doesn't mean anything for the Biologist. It's all within the units. So, what do I think of the Biologist? Well, obviously, because it bears my namesake. After all, my title, my legal title, now has BCS, it's C in it. Bachelor of Science in Biology. Therefore, meaning that I have to say this is my favourite tower in the game, 100%, no bias whatsoever. But in all seriousness, it kind of feels like a blend of the Jester, the Crook Boss, and I guess the Mercenary Base? It feels kind of weird. It feels like it's carving out its own niche amongst other towers by stealing other niches from towers. Is that really fair? I don't know. I feel like it will become meta in the same sense that the Jester's meta, as in it will just slow down enemies rather than using it for its DPS, because event towers, they're not usually famed for their DPS. Other towers do eclipse it in terms of DPS. The only thing that event towers are kind of useful for is their support, and with the Nightshade and the Ivy, I think it kind of can be used for that. And it does seem to fare well against the game modes, except these are easy game modes. Not entirely sure if it's going to be that good against, say, hardcore mode. But then again, it does have units that can detect all the detections, so possibly? Let's see. Does it fare well against the Gravedigger? Probably should swap over to all Sunflower, given the fact that the Nightshade probably doesn't confuse it, and the Ivy... it actually, I don't know, probably can't slow it down. Let's see. Yeah, it fares fairly well, but then again, you only have 8 towers, and this is the best it can do. Okay, I don't know. Probably not the DPS tower, but support tower, probably.